all were crowded round Mr. Bermutua, the judge, who was giving his opinion about the St. Cloud mystery. For a month this inexplicable crime had been the talk of Paris. Nobody could make head nor tail of it. Mr. Bermutua, standing with his back to the fireplace, was talking, going over the evidence, discussing the various theories, but arriving at no conclusion. Some women had risen in order to get nearer to him, and were standing with their eyes fastened on the clean-shaven face of the judge, who was saying such witty things. They were shaking and trembling, moved by fear and curiosity, and by their eager and insatiable desire for the horrible, which haunts the soul of every woman. One of them, paler than the others, said during a pause, "It's terrible. It verges on the supernatural. The truth will never be known." This is a download from audiostory.com. The Hand, based on a story by Guy de Maupassant. The judge turned to her. "True, madam. It is likely that the actual facts will never be discovered. As for the word supernatural, which you have just used, it has nothing to do with the matter. We are in the presence of a very cleverly conceived and executed crime, so well enshrouded in mystery that we cannot disentangle it from the involved circumstances which surround it. But once I had to take charge of an affair in which the uncanny seemed to play a part. In fact, the case became so confusing that it had to be given up." Several women exclaimed at once, "Oh, tell us about it." Mr. Bermutua smiled in a dignified manner, as a judge should, and went on. "Do you think, however, that I, for 1 minute, described anything in the case to be supernatural? I believe only in the normal causes, but if instead of using the word supernatural to express what we do not understand, we were simply to make use of the word inexplicable, it would be much better. At any rate, in the affair of which I am about to tell you, it was the surrounding preliminary circumstances which impressed me. Here are the facts. I was, at the time, a judge at Ajaccio, a little white city on the edge of a bay which is surrounded by high mountains. The majority of the cases that came up before me concerned vendettas. There are some that are superb, fantastic, ferocious, heroic. We find there are the most beautiful causes for revenge, of which one could dream. Enmities hundreds of years old, quoted for a time but never extinguished. Murders became massacres, the most deeds of glory, For 2 years I heard of nothing but the price of blood, of this terrible Corsican prejudice, which compels revenge for insults meted out to the offending person and all his descendants and relatives. I had seen old men, children, cousins murdered. My head was full of these stories. One day I learned that an Englishman had just hired a little villa at the end of the bay for several years. He had brought with him a French servant, whom he had engaged on the way at Marseilles. Soon this particular person, living alone, only going out to hunt and fish, aroused a widespread interest. He never spoke to anyone, never went to town, and every morning he would practice for an hour or so with his rifle and his revolver. Legends were built up around him. It was said that he was some important person fleeing from his fatherland for political reasons. Then it was confirmed that he was in hiding after having committed some terrible crime. Some particularly horrible circumstances were even mentioned. In my judicial position, I thought it was necessary to get some information about this man, but it was impossible to learn anything. He called himself Sir John Rowell.